Is your location going to potentially be a reason why you get laid off? The unfortunate short answer is yes. There were a few posts made today on Blind and on Fishbowl where people were indicating that they felt that they were laid off or their positions were eliminated because of their remote location. This is unfortunately true. Now, I want to reassure everyone it doesn't mean that anyone who's remote is going to be targeted first, but what happened was this. Once the pandemic happened and everyone could work remote and offices didn't know where and when they would open again, a lot of people took their New York City and San Francisco based salaries and moved to really low cost of living areas, bought a house, bought a second house, invested in Airbnbs, and lived really comfortably for the first time in a while, which I don't begrudge anyone. But this introduced a lot of complications, namely a lot of people, when they moved to these low cost of living areas, still continued to earn the San Francisco or New York City based premium despite not living there anymore, which caused inequity to their peers that still lived in those high cost of living areas. Additionally, and a lot of employees don't know this, which I'm grateful for because it's so overcomplicated and convoluted, but every state is different. And in order to be a taxable entity that employs people, you generally have to fill out paperwork, you have to fill out workers' compensation insurance, you have to fill out payroll insurance, and each state has its own remit, scope, rules, and roles, as well as payments. And so in many cases, what was happening, especially to companies that decided to allow full remote from anywhere in the United States, were paying anywhere from 5 to 6 times in fees just to set that state up as a payroll center versus the employees that were actually working from there. When I was consulting, there were 3 companies that were paying much, much more in state fees and penalties because the company didn't even know that the person had moved there. The person hid it until they filed their taxes, and the company was being bombarded with penalties and fees and setup costs and whatnot, so that in many cases, a lot of companies started to put kiboshes on certain states or even in certain cities that are really expensive to run from. And instead of telling individual employees of saying, hey, we cannot employ anyone from Wisconsin, in order to continue to be employed, you have to work in one of these 11 states. In many cases, what some companies are just doing are just focusing on those roles for removal and then setting up that Wisconsin is no longer a place that the company can run from. I am in no way justifying or defending this. It's just something I want people to be aware of. And it's why having a really good, open, honest relationship with your employer about where you are based and what the expectations are about being a remote worker, if you're in that sort of situation, is paramount.